Okay, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Okay, in here we will discuss the poem entitled Evenin Blues by Langston Hughes. Okay, I will introduce my friends who are a team in group number 2. The first one is me, SAVIRA NAFISAH, and then CANNA, and then the next is Revita, BAHRIATULILLA, and then the last but not least is RATIH. Okay, in here I would like to introduce you the Evening Blues by Langston Hughes. Folks, I came up north, 'cause they told me the north was fine. I came up north because they told me the north was fine. Been up here 6 months, I'm about to lose my mind. This morning for breakfast, I chewed the morning air. This morning for breakfast, chewed the morning air. But this evening no supper, I got evening air to spare. Believe I'll do a little dancing, just to drive my blues away. A little dancing to drive my blues away. 'Cause when I'm dancing, the blues forget to stay. But if you was to ask me how the blues they come to be, says, if you was to ask me how the blues they come to be, you wouldn't need to ask me. Just look at me and see. And then in here, this is my job to explaining the form or structure and personifications about the poem Evening Blues, written by Langston Hughes when published in 1951. 1951. The poem consists of 4 6-line stanzas or sestes. In the poem, a poor black man who is probably an escaped slave, in a sad tone, speaks about the mismatch between the picture of Northern America states that exist among the Southern slaves and the reality in which, although there is no slavery, living conditions are hard and people can hardly make their ends meet. Okay, we want to explain more in the first stanza. The first stanza of Evening Blues is a sestes, and the rhyme scheme is ABA, BCB. The rhyming words are north, fine, month, and mind. The first 2 words are repeated 2 times each. He closed those particular words to emphasize the basic introductory information, which is the location north, its alleged descriptions fine, the amount of time he spent there, month, and the effect it had on him, that he almost lost his mind. It's very clearly, right? Some critics have pointed out that rhyme fine and mine is technically a really bad move, and that it takes away much of the poem quality. Repetitions as a tool is used here to show how rumors about the life in the North are repeated almost like a mantra among the Southern slaves. Okay, move on. The next is the second stanza. The second stanza of the poem also consists of 6 lines with the rhyme scheme is EF, EF, GF. The words that carry the rhyme are breakfast, air, supper, and spare, the first 2 of which are used twice. The most prominent words that carry the rhyme are related to food, breakfast, and supper, and they are used alongside the word air, which is associated with emptiness and void. By doing this, the poet achieves his goal of vividly describing the day-by-day struggle that all of the black people faced. The main tool here is literal image. Hughes used it very effectively so the reader can almost feel his long days without food and shelter. The physical repetitions of words parallels the sameness of the days in his life. That way, we get the picture of the lack of basic existential necessities that the speaker faces. And then the next is in the third stanza. The third stanza, we get somewhat different but simple rhyme scheme. He, he. But the number of lines is the same as in the first two. The rhyming words in this stanza are tenzin, away, stay, and the first two are again, repeated 2 times. The word tenzin is chosen and repeated to transverse the atmosphere of dancing nights away. Away is used in order to show the effect dance has on his sadness, and stay is used to emphasize the permanence of his melancholy, only occasionally interrupted by dances. In this stanza, the reader is introduced to the idea of dance as the antidote to poverty and suffering in a big city. The main tool in this stanza is personifications, which is apparent in the last line when the poet says how blues forget to stay. In my view, by using this tool, the poet wants to emphasize how the speaker feels the blues as a conscious force or a spirit because of its power over him. This stanza shows us that artistic expressions is that what keeps people sane and gives them power to endure the hardship they face. Okay, this is the final stanza. The final stanza is quite distinct from the rest of the poem since it is written in the rhyme scheme ki 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 ki, it is very unusual rhyme. In this stanza, the words that carry the rhyme are me, which is repeated 3 times, B repeated 2 times, and C. So there's 2 that repeated B and C. Me and B are used in an altering way to indicate how the speaker's person is the permanent dwelling of the blues. The word C is used almost as a call for the reader to notice how apparent the causes of his sadness is. As for the number of lines, this stanza conforms to the rest of the poem, which means that it has 6 lines. The main tool which is used here very effectively is internal rhyme, and it can be found in the last line where the poet rhymes me and C line internally. The poet uses the opportunity to repeat the word me for the 4th time in this stanza, almost as a way of physically pointing at himself to draw the attention of the society at his conditions. This effect is made even stronger since the word is rhymed with the verb see, which calls for people's attention almost like an imperative. For me, in conclusion, one might say that although criticized for its technical issues like problematic rhyme in fine mind and dialectical inconsistencies, this poem is very valuable because it provides a vivid pictures of disappointment in the life in the North. It is also worth adding that the poet has succeeded in transferring the lives of ordinary, pure, black people into artistic expressions, and at the same time he preserved the tone and the atmosphere of everyday life by using the colloquial, certain dialectical. Thank you very much. I hope you can understand what I mean. Ya, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hi guys, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is VIONITARETAMI and I'm from group number 2. I wanted to explain this poem, Evening Air Blue by Langston Hughes. So I want to discuss and explain about element of poem. There are sound device. Sound device have rhyme scheme, alliteration. So but this poem didn't have alliteration because don't have repetition of consonant sounds at the beginning of words. So let's go. In this poem have rhythm. What is rhythm? Rhythm is stressed in a poem that is for stanza. In stanza 1, folks, I come up north because they told me the north was fine. I come up north because they told me the north was fine. Been up here 6 months, I'm about to lose my mind. Stanza 2. This morning for breakfast, I checked the morning air. This morning for breakfast, check the morning air. But this evening for supper, I got evening air to spare. Next. Okay, in stanza 3, believe I will do a little dancing just to drive my blues away. A little dancing to drive my blues away. 'Cause when I'm dancing, the blues forgets to stay. Stanza 4, but if you was to ask me how the blues they come to be, say if you was to ask me how the blues they come to be, you wouldn't need to ask me, just look at me and see. Okay, next. Okay guys, the next is rhyme. What is rhyme? Rhyme is a repetition or same similar sound in the ends. Okay. We see there are a not, fine, breakfast, air, breakfast, a supper, spare, dancing away, dancing, stay, me, be me, right? So the next is rhyme scheme. The first stanza is A, B, The rhyming words are not, fine, month, and mine. The first two words are repeat 2 times each. He chose a particular word to emphasize information, which is location, north, uh, and then description, fine, and time, month, and effect it had on him, lose his mind. And the second stanza of the poem also consists of 6 lines with the rhyme scheme AFGF, that is breakfast, air, supper, and spur. And the third stanza, we got somewhat different but simple rhyme scheme, HG, but the number of lines is the same as in the first two. The rhyming words in the stanza are dancing away, dancing, stay. And the last stanza, the final stanza, is quite distinct from the rest of poem, since it's written the rhyme scheme K, which is very unusual rhyme. In this stanza, the words that carry the rhyme are me, which is repeat 3 times, B, repeat 2 times, and C, me and B are used in altering Y to indicate how the speaker present is the permanent dwelling of the blues. Okay.
Assonance, the repetition of vowel sound within no-rhyming words. For example, in the last stanza of the poem, namely, you wouldn't need to ask me. Vowels O on the poetry experiencing repetition. Consonants, repetitive sound produced by consonant in the middle or end of words in a phrase or sentence. Example from this poem: mind, find, super, spare, stay, away, me, and see. Onomatopoeia, words that are used to represent particular sounds. This poem, the onomatopoeia element is not present in this poem. Repetition, the repeating of the particular sound device to create an effect. To create emphasize, a poet may repeat words or lines within the poem. In the poetry, there are many words and sounds that are repeated, like "cause they told me north was fine," "cause they told me north was fine." These two sentences are found in the first stanza sentence, which is repeated in his word. The words morning water in the second stanza, a little dancing, and in the last stanza are the words to ask me, and they come to be. Mood or tone. The poet achieved his goal of vividly describing the day-by-day struggle that all of the black people face. The main tool here is literal image. This poem is very valuable because it provides a vivid picture of disappointment in the life in the North. It is also worth adding the poet has success in transferring the life of ordinary, poor, black people into artistic expression. At the same time, he preserved the tone and atmosphere of everyday life by using the colloquial Southern dialect. The second stanza, Hughes used it very effectively so the reader can almost feel his loneliness without food and shelter. Readers get the picture of the lack of basic essential necessities that the speaker faces. The reader is introduced to the idea of dance as an antidote to poverty and suffering in a big city. Third stanza shows us that artistic expression is what keeps people sane and gives them power to endure the hardship they face. The word "see" is used almost a call for the reader to notice how apparent the cause of his sadness is. So, in our opinion, the Evening Air Blues poem is a poem that describes the sadness and struggle which the reader feels.
Imaginary. Folks, I come up north, 'cause they told me the north was fine. I come up north, 'cause they told me the north was fine. Been up here 6 months. I'm about to lose my mind. This poem refers to an indication that the conventions of the good life in the North are wrong, but it is related to the singer's loss of sanity. The poem also showed that much of homesickness has to do with the hardships of city life, a theme expressed in Hughes' Evening Air Blues.
Simile, a comparison using like or as. For example, he was treated like an animal in North America, suffering every day he lived. Metaphor, describe something as if it were another. For example, Dan is a antidote to suffering. Theme. The theme of a poem is central or main idea. The theme of Evening Air Blues poem is struggle. Explain it in the second stanza. The words which carry the rhyme are breakfast, air, super, and result. The first two words are used twice. The most prominent words carrying the rhyme are related to food, breakfast, and dinner. and they are used alongside the word air, which is associated with emptiness. In those words it clearly describes the day-to-day struggle that all black people face. Hughes uses it so effectively that readers can almost experience his long day without food and shelter. The repetition of the word cyclically parallels the same day in his life. That's why we get an idea of the lack of basic essential needs facing the speaker.